It started with a single letter, a yellowed envelope, no return address. Inside, one sheet of paper, 5 chilling words. You don't know the truth. The letter was slipped under Claire Jensen's front door on a cold November morning in 2023. She thought it was a prank until she unfolded it and saw a photo taped to the bottom corner. The image showed her father, young, smiling, his arm draped around a woman Claire had never seen before. The year written in red ink, 1982. And underneath, one haunting message. He killed her. What would you do if the man you loved, the man who raised you, was accused of murder from 4 decades ago? Would you confront him? Or would you pretend you never saw it? Tonight, we uncover the mystery that shattered a family and exposed secrets buried for decades. Watch until the end, because what you're about to hear will leave you questioning everything. Before we dive in, don't forget to watch till the end and subscribe to this channel. Like, share, and turn on the notification bell, because this case is about to take a dark turn you won't see coming. Claire Jensen was a 34-year-old teacher in a quiet Midwestern town. Her life was predictable, peaceful, until that letter. At first, she thought it was some sick joke. Her father, Richard Jensen, was a beloved retired firefighter. Everyone in town respected him. He'd saved lives, led charity drives, and was the kind of man who still opened doors for strangers. But that photo, that date, that accusation, it clung to her mind like smoke. She put the letter away, tried to ignore it, but every time she looked at her father, something in his eyes felt different. The next day, Claire decided to dig deeper. She called her mom, but her mother brushed it off, saying, "People make up crazy things, Claire. Don't let them get to you." But that night, unable to sleep, Claire grabbed her laptop and searched Missing Women 1982 in their county. And there it was. Melissa Carver, age 24, disappeared in June 1982. Last seen leaving a bar downtown. No trace of her was ever found. Claire's heart sank when she clicked on the grainy black and white photo. It was the same woman from the letter. Claire tried to convince herself it was just a coincidence, but the letter said, "You don't know the truth." And suddenly, she felt like she didn't. 2 days later, Claire went to visit her father. She slipped the letter onto the kitchen table and waited. Richard froze. His hands trembled. And in that moment, Claire saw something she'd never seen before. Fear. "Where did you get this?" he whispered. Claire didn't answer. "Claire, you shouldn't... This isn't..." He shoved the letter back toward her, his voice cracking. "Some things are better left alone." That was all he said before walking out of the room. And that's when Claire knew this wasn't a prank. This was a confession. Claire made the hardest decision of her life that night. She called the police. Detective Laura Myers was assigned the case. A 15-year veteran of the force, Laura had seen her share of cold cases, but something about this letter felt deliberate, like someone wanted this secret uncovered. Laura started digging. She pulled every record she could on Melissa Carver's disappearance. The case file was thin. One missing person report, a few witness statements, and then nothing. But one thing caught Laura's eye. A statement from a bartender who'd seen Melissa that night. He'd said she left with a man, A man who looked like a firefighter. Laura's gut tightened. Meanwhile, Claire's relationship with her father grew strained. Richard stopped answering her calls. He barely left his house. But what haunted Claire most wasn't what he said, it was what he didn't say. She remembered sitting at the dinner table as a child, watching her dad laugh and tell stories about saving people. He'd been her hero. Now, she was beginning to wonder if he'd been living a double life. The investigation deepened. Detective Laura tracked down old newspapers, interviewed people from that era, and even visited the bar where Melissa was last seen. Most of the staff from 1982 were gone, but one elderly former bartender remembered Melissa. She was sweet, he said, always smiling. That night she looked nervous, said she was meeting someone she trusted. Then she left, and no one ever saw her again. When Laura showed him the photo from the letter, he hesitated. His voice lowered. That's him. That's the guy. Detective Laura didn't reveal Richard Jensen's name yet, but she knew they were closing in. Then, something strange happened. Another letter appeared. This time, it was slid under Claire's windshield wiper at work. Stop digging, or you're next. Claire's hands shook as she read it. She felt like someone was watching her. She called Laura immediately. They know I'm looking into this. Who sent this? Whispered Claire. Laura didn't have answers, but this wasn't a random threat. Someone wanted this case buried. By now, local whispers had started. Small towns have long memories. People remembered Melissa's disappearance. Some even remembered rumors that she'd been dating a man she wouldn't name. Was it Claire's father? Had he been hiding this secret for decades? The police quietly placed surveillance on Richard Jensen's home. Laura also filed a subpoena for his employment and movement records from 1982. What she found sent chills down her spine. On the exact night Melissa vanished, Richard was off duty. And his car, a navy blue pickup, matched a vehicle seen parked near Melissa's apartment. The deeper Laura dug, the darker things became. There were whispers of corruption, a men in uniform protecting their own. A mysterious benefactor had paid off some of Melissa's family debts after she disappeared. And then, Laura found something she didn't expect. A storage locker rented under Richard's name since 1983. She immediately filed for a warrant. Claire couldn't sleep that night. She sat in her car outside her father's house, staring at the glowing windows. Could he really have killed someone? Her father, the man who read her bedtime stories and carried her on his shoulders, a murderer? And if he was, what else had he been hiding all these years? The next morning, police would open that storage locker. What they found inside would change everything. But who sent that mysterious letter? And why, after 40 years of silence, did someone want the truth revealed now? Was Richard Jensen a cold-blooded killer? Or was he hiding something far darker, something even he was afraid of? What do you think is inside that storage locker? The letter was only the beginning. A threat followed. And now, a storage locker untouched for 40 years was about to reveal secrets someone had tried desperately to keep buried. This wasn't just about Melissa Carver. It was about power, silence, and a truth so twisted it would shatter a family forever. Stay locked in, because what's inside this locker will leave you speechless. Make sure you stay glued to your screen and continue watching, because this story is about to take its darkest turn yet. The morning was gray and cold as Detective Laura Myers stood outside Unit 147 at a local storage facility. The metal door was rusted, the padlock covered in decades of grime. Claire Jensen stood several feet away, trembling. This was it. With a deep breath, Laura motioned for the lock to be cut. The shriek of the bolt cutters echoed in the empty lot. Then, slowly, the door rolled up. A stale, musty smell filled the air. Inside, darkness. Laura flicked on her flashlight. At first glance, the unit looked ordinary. Boxes stacked neatly, old furniture, faded photographs in cracked frames. A life packed away. But then, Laura spotted a trunk. An old, weathered trunk. Locked. She knelt, pried it open. Inside were women's clothes, dresses, shoes, jewelry, all neatly folded. And at the bottom, a small, leather-bound diary. The diary belonged to Melissa Carver. The last entry was dated June 14th, 1982, the night she disappeared. Her handwriting was shaky. He said he'd protect me. He said I was safe. But I'm scared. If something happens to me, it's because of him. There was a name. A single initial. R. Laura's chest tightened. Forensics was immediately called in. As they bagged and cataloged everything, they discovered something else. Polaroids. Several of Melissa. Some smiling, some looking terrified. And in one photo, taken from a distance, a man stood behind her. It was Richard Jensen. That night, Laura made the drive to Richard Jensen's house. Claire sat in her car nearby, tears streaming down her face. She didn't want to see what was about to happen, but she couldn't stay away. Richard opened the door slowly. He looked older than ever, his face pale, his shoulders slumped. "We need to talk, Mr. Jensen," Laura said firmly. Inside, Laura placed the photos on the table. Richard stared at them for a long time. His hands shook as he picked one up. "Where did you get this?" Laura didn't answer. She just stared him down. Finally, Richard spoke. "He didn't kill her." His voice cracked. "But I should have saved her." Richard confessed to knowing Melissa. He'd met her through a community fundraiser. She was young, beautiful, full of life. But Melissa had been in trouble. She owed money to dangerous people. People with power. Richard had tried to help her. He'd even fallen in love with her. But when Melissa told him she was planning to expose the men she was involved with, men in law enforcement, local politics, Richard panicked. "She wasn't safe," Richard whispered. "I told her to lay low. I gave her money. I told her I'd protect her. But Melissa disappeared that night, and Richard had been too afraid to come forward. They warned me. They told me if I talked, I'd lose everything. My job, my family. So I stayed quiet." As Laura dug deeper, she realized this wasn't a simple murder. Melissa hadn't just vanished, she'd been silenced. The investigation uncovered a network of corruption. A local businessman, a retired police chief, and several city officials from the 80s had ties to Melissa. She'd been blackmailing them after witnessing something horrific. And Richard Jensen? He wasn't her killer. He was her protector. But when Melissa vanished, he became their scapegoat. Someone had kept him silent for decades. But one question remained. Who sent the mysterious letter to Claire? That answer came from an unexpected source. A man in his 60s came forward, a former city clerk. He'd kept records from that time and had grown sick of carrying the guilt. He admitted that he'd sent the letter, desperate for the truth to finally come out. "I watched them bury this case," he confessed. "She deserved justice." Armed with Melissa's diary, the photos, and testimony, police reopened the case as a full-scale investigation. Several former city officials were indicted for conspiracy, obstruction, and accessory to murder. Melissa's remains were eventually found, buried in a wooded area just outside of town. For Claire, the discovery was bittersweet. Her father was cleared of suspicion, but haunted by his silence. "I should have been braver," Richard whispered as cameras filmed him leaving court. The scandal rocked the small town. Generations of lies unraveled. Families of the accused were forced to confront the truth. And Melissa Carver's name, once forgotten, became a rallying cry for justice. Claire stood at her father's side during the press conference. Her voice trembled as she spoke. "To anyone watching this, speak up. Don't let fear bury the truth. Melissa deserved better, and no family should carry this kind of secret for 40 years. But as the dust settled, Detective Laura received a strange message. A single envelope, no return address. Inside, another photograph. A woman, smiling. The year scrawled in red ink. 1985. And one sentence. She wasn't the only one. The story of Melissa Carver may have ended, but this letter proves something far darker is lurking beneath this town's surface. Who was the woman in that photo? And how deep does this web of corruption really go? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this mystery is far from over. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You won't want to miss what comes next.